Hi guys, on your bike, MTB here. Just fitting the Brand X Ascend dropper post to my Voodoo Bizango 29er. So I've just laid out here everything. This is everything that comes in the box. So I went for the 125mm travel, and it comes with the post, bag here with your lever, and a couple of bits for the end of the cable, outer and inner cable, and the instructions. Note that it doesn't come with cable ties. I added these from the collection in my shed. Make sure you grab a couple to tidy your cable up afterwards. Tools that I think I'm going to need is snips for the cable, pliers to crimp the end, and some Allen keys. So step one is going to be to take the seat off your original seat post. This is easier to do with it in place. Remove the seat and then the post. So on this bike is a 5mm Allen key. Let's start with the 2 bolts underneath. Next thing is to take the seat post out. So undo your quick release clamp. Now the next stage is just here. Note that this X Ascend dropper post is only designed for bikes with internal routing for the cable. As you can see on the post, the cable connects to the very bottom of the post, not the top where the seat mounts. Make sure that your bike already has a hole like this one with a rubber bung for the cable to come out. So let's remove the rubber bung with the pliers. That's the rubber bung removed. As you can see, there's now a nice hole here for the cable to come out. So the next step is to thread the cable. Now, I've noticed a couple of people who've had these in the past have mentioned that they missed a crucial part off the end of the cable. So let's just check what we've got here. Inside the bag is a small cylinder that goes on the end of the cable, and it looks like this. It's the shorter of the two. Don't know if that'll focus there. One side of it's got a small hole and the other side has a big hole. So it's important that that piece on the end of the tube sits inside this hole here so that it doesn't slip out. So when you're threading your cable, take it out of the sleeve, the plastic wrapping, and it'll kind of uncoil like that. And you've got your outer sleeve and you've got the inner piece. Now on the end of the inner piece, one end is bare, the bare end goes to the lever, and the end with this small crimped cylinder goes to the post. Make sure that this cylinder that was in the bag is threaded over the cable before the outer sleeving. So go to the other end of your cable and thread this over with the big hole towards the crimped cylinder. So your cable goes in through the big side and comes out the small side like that. That goes all the way on, like so, so that this small cylinder sits inside the hole, see? Now you can thread your outer, which appears like it's not ended, so either end goes onto the open end of the inner cable. So let's thread that in there like that. Make sure you don't fray it. There, and we're in. Feed that all the way in like that. And we're out the other end now. If you look at the other end there, that's us out the other end. So we can push that all the way in like this. That sits on there. Okay, so the next step, once you've got your cable assembled with the cylinder on the end of it, is to thread it up through the seat tube. So I would pass it underneath here and up through the hole that we took the rubber bung out of. It can be a little bit fiddly. I'm going to get the cable up like that. There we go. Right. Feed it all the way up. Try and avoid slicing the outer cabling on the frame at this point until you're out the top like that. Next step now is to take your post and connect the cable. So let me come in a bit closer here. You need to make sure that the cable hooks into this circle through the slot, and then it should pivot down like that, and this piece sits in here, and that's it. Next thing is to put the post into the tube. So just pull your cable back down and feed the seat post into your seat tube like that. There. At this point you can fit the saddle if you want. I'm going to wait just now, just to make sure everything's working. So the next stage is to start assembling the lever. So this is the clamp that mounts the lever onto the bars. It's a 3mm Allen key, and you can see this screw's kind of thread locked, so it's a bit tight just to get it out in the first place. So let's unscrew that. And we can mount the actual lever onto the clamp. The lever mounts this way, like this. Just put the bolt through the lever, back into the bar clamp, and just screw that in. I'll show you how it looks in a minute once I've tightened it out. Just nip that just now, we can tighten it properly once it's on the bars. So that now looks like that. Right, so the next stage then is to take the cable, which routes up the same way, if you can see there, same way as the brake cable does for that side. So it crosses over under the frame. You can see the little holders that your cable tied to, crosses over, and it routes up this way with this one. And the lever goes on the rider's left-hand side. So let's set that back up there. Next thing then is to thread this through the lever. Threading it into the lever is a little bit fiddly, to be honest with you. So inside the lever here, you'll see there's this hole above my finger, and in the bag with the sort of extra bits is this small barrel. It's basically a non-crimp cable end. It's a screw-on one. So in there's a 2mm Allen key. You'll need a 2mm, and that's just the bottom of the thread there. So you're aiming to thread the cable through this, if I can get it to focus, small hole here. So that cylinder sits inside this hole, and the cable threads through from this end, and it goes through your cylinder, which will be inside that hole, and it comes out, and you'll have excess to be cut off afterwards. So I think the easiest way to do it is going to be to thread some through like this and just grab the slack. So you've got the slack here now. And then push it back through the hole in the barrel. So I've threaded that right through now, like that, and then you can pull it up. And you want to pull that tight so that this piece sits in the recess there. You can then use your 2mm Allen key to tighten the Allen key in that barrel there, just to crimp your cable in. Right, now we can mount it on the bars. Right, to mount it on the bars, underneath here you'll see another, it's 3mm Allen key again. So we're going to slacken that right off. This is a hinge clamp, which is handy. So slacken that right out, take that bolt completely out, so that we can undo that hinge. Make sure you don't drop the bolt. Nearly there. Again, the bolt has got thread lock on it, which is ideal. Saves them from coming loose, but it means that you'll not get these out by hand. So we can now fit it to the bars. Make sure to thread it on the inside of your other brake cable. Pass it under, like so, and that goes over the top, like that. Thread that bolt in, and with your 3mm Allen key, just get a few turns on that so that you don't drop it. Now you can position it as close as you want and make sure it's kind of sitting within easy reach, and adjust it to your choice really. I'll just tighten that up so it's not going to move, and I'll adjust it to suit me later when I'm riding. Right, we're now ready to give it a test. So I'll just come round to the other side and operate the lever. And there we go. One dropper post working. Now bear in mind, if it's too low when it's fully extended, you can adjust it up. So make sure that you do that before cable tying your cable up, because you might need a bit more slack down here. So I'll try that out later and make sure it's the right size for me. So last thing is just to tidy up the cable. So at this end, by the lever, if you can see there, we need to just pull this tight, trim the excess, and crimp the cable end onto it with the pliers. Now, make sure that you operate this at least 10 times in a row before you cut your cable short and everything, just in case you need to take up any extra slack. Once you've taken up the slack and you've tidied up the end of the cable, you can cable tie onto these holders under here. So the cable just sits in like that, and the cable tie goes around. You'll need 3 cable ties. 1, 2, and 3 just there at the bottom, and you want to glue the cable under in this tray with the other ones. Right, I'm now going to mount my saddle so that I can check that the height's set right for me. So again, it's a 5mm Allen key. And we're just going to take these 2 bolts out. Again, they're thread locked, so just mind that you'll need an Allen key to get them out as well as in. Right guys, I've now fitted my saddle and everything, so we're ready to just tighten up the cable. I've given it a good 10-15 goes to make sure the cable's stretched in nicely. So back to the 2mm Allen key. Right guys, now we're ready to cut the excess cable off behind the lever. So grab yourself a nice sharp pair of snips. I opted for the snap-on ones from my van. Just want to cut it in behind the lever, nice and clean. That's it cut, there's the extra. And now with a pair of long nose pliers, you can crimp on the last piece in the accessories bag, which is this small cable end. You can see that there. That's just a sort of ferrule that goes over the end of the cable. So it's a bit fiddly again to get in. Try not to fray the cable. Push it right home and then just give it a good pinch with the long nose pliers. And that's your cable not going to fray. Right, last step, cable ties. Just before I forget, while I'm at the bars, I think I'll also just give this cable a small spray. I use Muck Off Bike Protect. It's just a water repellent really. Just make sure we don't get any corrosion in there. Right guys, so that's it. As you can see, the seat is in the down position. Ideal for those trails, shooting about berms and drops and all sorts. And the cable's routed through the hole just off center there. It runs underneath, up, and I've used 3 cable ties, 1, 2, 3, and then the cable routes round this side, same as the brake cable, up to the lever here. If I operate the lever, let's see if I can zoom out. There we go, working. Just for your information, it's a Brand X Ascend 125mm travel, 31.6mm diameter dropper post, and this is a Voodoo Bizango 29er. Thanks very much for watching. Remember to drop me a follow on Insta on your bike MTB. Cheers.